Black Ram 313 back at it again, because you know this is Therapeutic Man. Once again, returning with another therapy session. This is therapy, so let's get right into it. The title of this video is When Your Heart is Broken. Now, dealing with a broken heart is a very painful process. This video is not, I repeat, this video is not for tough guys. It is for men who are, and or men who will experience heartbreak in their future. She will always leave you, right? Refer to that video. Again, this video is not for everyone. It is a depressing topic. As I look around on YouTube, in the YouTube communities, I don't see very many videos on this subject matter, at least from the angle of the red pill. This will be that video. In this video, I hope that it will be an archive, a resource for those red pill men, for the brotherhood, if the need arises. The need for therapy in such a dark place. Now, I've touched on this subject before, but now I want to get more detailed in such matters. This channel is for therapy, and I'm very serious about that. Over the years, I could only wish that I had somewhere to turn to deal with my pain. But many times I had to eat it, for there was no outlet. No one cared. Tears were indeed shed in the dark. A broken heart is no laughing matter. Society at large now seeks to minimize our pain as men. In fact, our pain is downright ignored, even laughed at. We are dehumanized. But for us as red pills, we care not about what others think. We care not for the validation of others. This video is for us. Now, I've known men, and I've heard of men who have taken their own lives due to heartbreak. Again, the pain of men is no joke. So if you are a tough guy, if it is impossible for such a thing as heartbreak to happen to you, this is not the video you should be listening to. And I applaud you. No cynicism, because there are men who are at such a level of the red pill that they are impervious to such a measly thing as heartbreak. But for this video, it's for men who are trying to reach that pinnacle. But in the dark times, they need the strength to push forward, to see the light, so that we can all get to that place where the broken heart can be no more. We all want this freedom. Freedom from bondage to our desires to love a woman. We must get over this desire to love them. From a rational point of view, it is not worth it anymore. I didn't say you didn't have to deal with them. Deal with them at your leisure and with your pleasure in mind. But to love them is another thing. It is not worth it. I want our minds to become renewed and become men who are no longer slaves to that desire. We have to let them go. We have to let them go. They are not for us. They do not deserve our heart. The modern Mrs. is completely finished. No good. We must never love her again. As men, you have loved her. You have sacrificed, more than willing to provide and protect with your very life. You invest your money to please. You invest your time, your most precious asset, along with your heart and your very soul, with no return on investment whatsoever. For she cannot, it is impossible, she is not hardwired to love you for you. Hypergamy indeed is her nature. We cannot expect any one of them to act outside of their nature and act outside their very own self-interest, and that interest is not to love and sacrifice for you as you have loved her. Realize this is the red pill. No one ever said it was easy to take such a pill, but the cold, harsh reality is this: she will never love you like you love her. She will always leave you, and you will be broken by this. Because as a man, you have a huge heart. We have love for our country, our nation, our family, our fellow brothers, our principles, and most importantly, our God. For the woman, she can only love herself. And sometimes, her own children. You have lost if you really believe she loves you the way you love her, no matter what she says. As men, we're all about love, aren't we? All we do is love. We love those around us. We show kindness. That is who we are. There is no need to be ashamed of this. 99.9% of the time, all that we do is for the benefit of someone else. You are created this way. You're programmed, hardwired this way. And yes, I am an emotional guy. Yes, I am a loving guy. I didn't say I was weak, however, I have had many times of weakness. I am human. This is the human experience. This is what it means to be alive. Your heart is broken because you truly have one. Again, the Most High put it there. It is a reflection of Him. He loves us. We love her. And she loves herself. She is a mirror of how we treat our Creator. Can you see that? There's a phenomenon, a social convention, that I do not understand. It is called marriage. And what I don't understand is, how can someone spend 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years under the same roof, sharing experiences, sharing good times, bad times, sleeping in the same bed night after night after night? And this person, she can leave you. She can break up with you. She can claim to love you today and turn on you tomorrow. Her so-called love can go away as quickly or even quicker than it came. It does not matter the time you spent with her. It doesn't matter how much you've invested in her. It does not matter how you loved her. It does not matter how you were there for her in her time of emotional, mental need. It does not matter what you've done for her. Her nature is that of which it is easy for her to decide that she no longer wants this, no matter how much time you have invested in your relationship. And the drain on the heart that this causes is something that affects you, but she can easily walk away from everything you've given, everything you've built, everything you've shared, everything you've ever desired. And your every desire was to please her, yet she can walk away from it all with ease. She is brutal, soulless, can never love you. Her loyalty is to herself and her hypergamy. And most importantly, above all else, her loyalty is to her own feelings. Feelings in which were shaped and programmed by this gynocracy that we now live. Completely self-centered. We see examples of this daily. 51% of marriages ending in divorce. 80% of the time it is the woman who files for divorce. She claims to love you one day and will leave you for another man the next. Never underestimate the calculated coldness and the heartlessness of the modern lady. But on the contrary, as a guy, you are a lover, a giver. And only you as a man can experience what it truly means to love someone. Because it is an unselfish act. To love like the Most High loves. She cannot do such a thing. For her, love is a one-way street. She can only receive love. She is not a giver of such things. Sure, she can nurse and mother her young. Sure, she can provide some comfort. But the unselfish, real act of love is something that is foreign to her. And always will be. Now that was an intro. Let's get right into the heart of the subject matter. The pain of a heartbreak is as strong as the pain of death. It hurts tremendously. I've experienced this several times. See, my true addiction, my stupidity, as I would like to call it, is that I love women, knowing fully that I should not. I need therapy more than anyone. Set a seal upon my heart, as a seal upon one's arm. For love is as strong as death. Jealousy is cruel as the grave. The coals thereof are coals of fire, which have a most vehement flame. That is quoted from the Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 6. This is a very real thing. I want to give two examples from my past of heartbreak, despair, in the process, in the road to recovery of such a traumatic event. And that is the event of a broken heart. The first story I want to tell of true events that happened to me, so I'm going to change the name of such said female. We're going to call her, well, I'm going to call her Charlene. A boyhood crush. You know that feeling you get when you're a young man and you see a woman, just based off of her appearance, the heart begins to flutter. And you have an attraction. They call it puppy love. This woman I knew as a young man, and I met her first when I was about 6 years old. Pretty girl, brown skinned, light brown skin. And I used to always see her playing double dutch across the street from my house. And from time to time I would go up to her and just speak to her, and she would say hi. Again, I was about 6 or 7 years old. Grew up on the same block but on the other side of the street. As the years advanced, puberty and maturity setting in, as a teenager, I began to be very amused and enthralled by Charlene. As I grew up and she grew up through the years, I got to know a little bit more about her. We became friends, and in my mind, she was my best friend, although I was not hers. And we would sit and have conversations for hours on end. Summers we would spend walking and talking. Now, she had no attraction for me. I was in the friend zone. In fact, she thought of me as a brother since I have known her for so many years. But as I got older, my attraction for her grew and developed. I thought very highly of her. Oftentimes, I would watch her walk to the bus stop early in the morning just because I wanted to see her face. Her presence and her appearance made my heart beat just a little bit faster, made my hands and palms sweat. I would think of her often. And as we got older and older, I got a chance to see her in various and in different relationships over a period of, let's say, 6 or 7 years from the time we were about 16 and 17. In my early 20s, I decided to confess my love for her after she had recently broke up with a boyfriend of hers. And I confessed this love, and I promised from that day forward that I would shower her with as much attention and love and care and concern as I possibly could. So we ended up in a relationship. And within a few years, turmoil and turbulence start to set in. Found out that she was not over her ex. In fact, she had developed a jealousy because her ex was about to get married. And I was hurt by this. And she decided to break up with me. And you know how it goes. You break up to get back together, and you break up once again. But a day came when not only did she decide to break up with me, she decided to share intimacy with another man. To say that I was crushed by this is an understatement. In my early 20s, still a very young man, I thought to myself that I could never recover from such a thing. The love of my life at the time was able to lie with another man. I thought we had something special, something real, something sacred, something precious. But it was easy for her to fall into the arms of another. Despair and depression did set in. I recall the winter time is when it happened. A cold day in January, early January. I hadn't eaten in many days. I hadn't even thought about it. In fact, when I look up, it had been about 5 days or so, and all I had consumed was water. And I finally did bring myself to eat. And I thought on it. And why was it that I could not eat for 4 to 5 days? And it was then that I realized that the pain in my heart was so deep that it outweighed the pain in my stomach for food. So broken. I eventually recovered from that. As the years went on and progressed, I ended up in other relationships. And not all of them were heartfelt and soulful and emotional and tumultuous. But I ran into another woman. The second and last story I'll talk about for this video. Again, I'm going to change the name because this is a real story. I'm going to call her Candy. And Candy was a woman who I'd known since elementary school. Many, many years in elementary school at that. Grew up in the same neighborhood. Found myself in a relationship with her at a time in my life where I really needed someone. I had experienced a death in the family and an illness of a close relative. And at the time, I felt deep despair. And there was no one there to comfort me. No one understood my pain. Enter Candy, who not only understood my pain, but who also experienced many tragedies in her life as well. Therefore, she was able to relate with my pain and with my despair. We grew a friendship and became lovers. She once told me that she loved me just as much as she loved her children. Yes, she was a single mother. I didn't say I was perfect, did I? And this relationship with intensity lasted for about a year. She became my heart and soul. Like all women, she eventually decided to leave for a better deal, for someone who can give her much more than I could. The point of this is that it took me about 7 months to recover from such a loss. And I've had losses similar to this over the years, but this was the most intense. And looking back over to the first woman, Charlene, the reason why my love for her was so intense is because I pedestalized and idealized her. I didn't look deep enough to who she actually was. And if I did so, it would be there that I would realize that what she did was to be expected. We all make mistakes. I'm not saying that she had what should have been perfect. This is just my experience. And looking at Candy, maybe my emotions were so high and heavy for her because of the emotional space that I was in at the time. But the lesson is this. I was a victim of my own vulnerability. Learn the hard lesson. And the hard lesson is that you cannot open yourself and open your heart to the modern female. She will reject you and it. Your vulnerabilities will surely cause your demise. A broken heart, suicide, depression, despair, hurt, anguish. She is not the creature that you think she is. I know you think you found the one. I know you think that not all women are like that. But if that is the case, why are so many men miserable? Why are so many women single? Why does she have a 100% failure rate in all her relationships? At the end of the day, all you have is you to rely upon emotionally. She will take your vulnerability and your weaknesses and lose respect and dignity for you. Turn her back on you and regret ever dealing with you because you are not seen as a human being, a man with feelings, weaknesses, vulnerabilities. You are a utility, and a utility must be useful, it must be strong, it cannot be flawed and weak. And most of all, as a utility, you cannot be human. This is a turnoff. What you are is someone to provide provision financially, protection physically, entertainment. What do you mean you have feelings and vulnerabilities? What do you mean you have doubts and fears? You have to be Superman, right? She despises your humanity. She rejects you. She is disgusted with you. She leaves and takes your heart. You are left with one thing. When she leaves and takes your heart with her, you are left with one thing. You are left with your own feelings for her. Hurt feelings. You're left with the pain. It can be hard to sleep in the beginning, hard to think, hard to focus, hard to go to school and work. All you can think about is her. Such is life in the Matrix. Such is life in the blue pill world. You must gather your strength and not go there. Again, learn the hard lessons. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the specific processes involved in healing after a breakup. First off and foremost, man, know when you need help. Don't be so proud. You are a human being. Don't allow anyone to shame you because of your pain. Reject this. See, this type of pain hurts deep into the soul. And again, it's caused many men to have cause the end of their own lives. So you must seek help if necessary. Counseling is a viable option if you need be. This is a no tough guy zone right here. So if you need a professional, the help of a professional, don't be afraid to reach out. As men, we are very isolated. We are often alone. You can't talk to your buddies. You can't talk to your pals about it. No man wants to hear another man talk about his heartbreak. No woman cares about your heartbreak. This is therapy, right? But I'm very serious. If you need the help, don't be afraid to reach out. That's first and foremost. Oftentimes, when someone loses someone, a divorce or through death, it is often said, you need to be strong. Be strong. This statement is ridiculous. Sometimes we lose. We hurt. We can be weakened. So you don't always have to be strong. It is okay to hurt. It is okay for a while to soak in your pain, to soak in it, to bathe in it. This is the first step of the healing process. You cannot heal while in denial. Again, I say you cannot heal in denial. It is no crime to be in pain. It is no crime to feel weak. It is a time and season for everything. A time for strength and a time for weakness. A time to gain and a time to lose. The season of things. As long as you live, rest assured, some tragedy of some sort is only around the corner. Seasons change. Everything, and I mean everything that you see is only temporary. Everything that you experience is temporary. Joy will eventually lead to pain, and pain will eventually lead to joy again. Until it's your end, expect this. Winter comes, yes, but eventually it will be spring. The cycle will repeat. The first thing you want to do when your old reliable friend called pain and heartbreak and despair returns, the first thing you want to do, as I stated before, is embrace that pain. Hug it. Feel it. Yes, men have feelings. We shouldn't just be led by them. But feel this pain out. Do not run from it. Do not mask it. Give yourself time to grieve. Give yourself time to go through the various stages of grief. And maybe in a future video, I'll talk about those stages. See, this is the road to recovery. Acknowledging your pain, dealing with your pain. In fact, this is the only road to recovery. This is how the heart begins to heal itself. Just like wounds physically heal, the heart has an internal mechanism. The emotions have an internal mechanism that they begin to mend themselves. Or itself, I should say. Along with the body. Embrace this pain. Accept your loss. Take time to heal and move forward. This is a process, however, it can be long and painful. Remember, love is a game. It's a game that only losers play. As a man, when you love, you will lose this game because she can't love you. For her, someone will always, always, always be there to replace the love you've given her. She's a receiver and not a giver, and there are men that are always willing to give her the love. Again, she cannot give it. She can only receive it. So she does not lose. She does not lose in love. It can be replaced, but not for you. For you, she is irreplaceable. So you must heal and deal. While she replaces, you have to deal with it. You have to purge it out of you. You have to recover. It's far different from you. You have a soul. In love, she looks for something. In love, she looks for something. Love for you, you look for someone. She looks for a thing, you look for a person. She loves what is happening. She loves what is being done. She does not love you. Love for you is a who. Listen, gentlemen. Love for you is a who. You're loving her. Love for her is a what. What she gets. Love is a what for her and it's a who for you. Big difference. You can always replace a what. You can never replace a who. This is why we must turn our backs on love. Loving her. Again, you can always replace a what. Difficult to replace a who when you are truly in love. Example of a what. When women think of men, they think of what they provide. His height, his bank account, what he can provide. She wants a man that can give her children and resources. All those things can be replaced if lost. It's different for you. You can't play a game and win where she's the most strong. For those who care the least have the most power. And trust me, buddy, she has the least for you. And you have the most for her. So after embracing the pain and accepting the loss, which can take several months, even years, again, it's a process of healing. In those hours, in the process of healing, a key thing to do is to write down what you've learned. To reminisce on a relationship. Yes, to listen to the songs that made you think of her. To look at the relationship from a perspective of what went wrong, how did it go wrong, and what you can do to never put yourself in a situation like that again in the future. It's called reflection. It's called introspection. Figure out why you loved her, how much you loved her. This is the process of purging. You must go deep inside and dig within and pull everything out to get rid of the stuff, to get rid of the residuals of a past relationship that no longer serves you, and to move on. House cleaning, if you will. My first heartbreak was because I idealized her. Part of what I loved was an imagination. What I thought she was, who I wanted her to be, was what I fell in love with. This was most erroneous on my part. Realizing the lesson helps you to heal again. It's the power of perspective. We cannot discount it. We look back in order to move forward, so that healing can take place. So healing can take place. And again, healing takes place naturally. It's a process of time. There is no magic formula. Listen, you have to go through the pain and grief. You have to. You can get assistance, you can get help, but you have to go through the process. You cannot run from it. That's the most important thing. But the wounds do heal. After a time, after a few months, there is something that you need to be cautious about when you're dealing with your heartbreak. You have to be careful that although you're letting healing take place, you're processing the pain. You have to be careful that you do not sit too long in your despair. Only you can know at what particular point you must push forward. Maybe it's 3 months. For the supermen, maybe it's a day or a week. Maybe it's a year. It could be any length of time. Typically now, on the high end, it usually takes about half of the time that you were in a relationship to completely heal from the past of the relationship or the past relationship. So if you were in a relationship a year and it was a love, I'm not talking about just someone you were just seeing, someone you were just having fun with. I'm talking about in love. I'm talking about deep emotional attachment. I'm talking about that woman you would give your life for if you've experienced such a thing. I'm talking about that woman you shared your life with. I'm not talking about Keisha you had a fling with. This is not what this video is about. It's that woman who did it for you. For that woman who pierced your heart. For her in whom you loved. It typically takes half the time that you were in the relationship to get over that relationship. At least on the high end in extreme cases. You can't rush the process, however, you cannot allow yourself to stay there too long. You have to begin to look toward a brighter future. Healing does come, but it comes slowly. But days do slowly become brighter. The pain slowly subsides. You begin to think about her far less. You go from thinking about her all day, every day, to half the day. You'll notice that you'll have times when she's not on your mind at all. And then you remember that you have not thought about her. This is the process of moving forward. The memories start to become, over time, a little bit more blurry. You begin to disconnect from your past. Realize this during your time of darkness. Realize that you will begin to mend and heal. Realize that freedom is coming. It's just a matter of time. Realize this in the midst of your pain. When the storms of despair beat down on you, remember that this is temporary. You will not always feel this way, even when you can't imagine not feeling so. These feelings can be so intense and so strong, you'll think they'll never end. But I can promise you this: in time, in time. Our minds are naturally progressive. Our minds are naturally looking toward the future. It's just a matter of time. So don't be afraid of the process. You know how you know that you are over it? When you know healing is pretty much complete. You know you're out of the darkness when thoughts of her no longer bring you any pain. When your pain is a distant memory. You are healed, but for many of us, a scar will always remain. So push forward. Remember to embrace the pain first. Deal with it. Think about it. And push forward. Healing comes naturally, no magical formula here. Be encouraged. The night brings eventually the day. You're a human being. It's okay that you're hurt. It's okay that you feel weak. We're not always strong. But heartbreak is good. I say again, heartbreak is good because for the red pill man, the introspective man, the pain that heartbreak brings wakes you up. And once you can recover from such pain, when you've been burned, you can now have a new perspective. You can now determine to never go back again to loving a creature that is unlovable. In fact, we should be thankful for such pain because pain can bring us freedom. The breakup, the divorce. Now you can be your own man, not a man who is concerned with the happiness of the fickle. A man who's not concerned with being the protector and the provider. A man who's not concerned with servitude to the female. But a man who's concerned with his own self-development. Who can give his love to the benefit of himself and others in society at large. And not to take his life energy, his life force to be focused on the happiness of a woman. You can begin to enjoy being you. You can begin to explore the world around you. You can begin to look at things anew, fresh, appreciate a sunset. Appreciate the changing of the seasons. Appreciate being alive. Appreciate being human. Appreciate being alone. And realizing that you never will go back to loving her. You will never go back to the bondage that is modern relationships. Instead, you will focus your energies elsewhere and continue to be free from the madness of the blue pill, matriarchal, gynocentric, feminist, super simp world that once had you by its clutches. You can now preach to other men about such freedoms that only can be obtained by absorbing the red pill. So while now the night may be dark, while the heart hurts, you will recover. And you can become born again into a new man. strong, powerful, introspective. Like the video, subscribe, drop a comment. If you'd like to donate, the link will be in the description box. Hit the notification button. Until next time, stay well and stay red pill. Block Ram 313. I'm out.